The dog angrily exclaimed, "How dare you touch my computer? You have no right to touch it." The cat, his voice trembling, replied softly, "I'm sorry, it was a mistake," but the dog, becoming more agitated, snapped, "Now, clean those dirty paw prints off immediately." Without another word, the cat took a cloth and gently wiped the computer, feeling both the sting of humiliation and the pressure to work quickly. As he carefully polished the screen, the dog stared at it, holding it as though it were the most precious thing in the world. Once satisfied, the dog clutched his beloved device protectively and declared, "Goodbye, dear, I'm off to the workshop." He strode away confidently, leaving the cat to catch a quick breath of relief. Nearby, the dog's wife, busy applying makeup in front of a grand mirror, barely turned her gaze as she answered with an indifferent, "All right, dear. See you later." Without missing a beat, she raised her voice, sharply, commanding, "Servant, come here now." The cat, still reeling from the dog's reprimand, hurried over to her, but in his haste, he tripped over a rug, bruising his paw. Gritting his teeth against the pain, he tried to stand, but before he could fully regain his balance, the dog's wife shouted impatiently, "Hurry up, or you won't get any food tonight." Her voice was cold, laced with a disregard that left the cat feeling insignificant. With tears gathering in his eyes, he pushed through the pain, stood up, and forced himself to run toward her. When he arrived, she looked him over with a disdainful, piercing gaze. Her face twisted with a slight smirk as she asked in a tone dripping with sarcasm, "Who are you again?" Bowing his head respectfully, though feeling the weight of humiliation, he murmured, "Your servant, ma'am." She glanced dismissively around the room before pointing toward the windows. "Then why are they so dirty? Clean them immediately." The cat obediently fetched a cleaning cloth and began scrubbing each pane, his small paws working tirelessly as he polished every smudge and stain. As he worked, memories floated back to him, memories of the warm, happy days when he lived in a cozy, loving home with his parents. In those days, he was cherished and loved, and his life was filled with abundance and care. But now his life was one of relentless labor, with each task designed to reinforce his place as the servant, interrupting his memories. The dog's wife called out once again, this time with an edge of irritation, "Don't waste the entire day on those windows," she snapped. "Now, head to the kitchen and prepare food for 50 people. We have guests arriving tonight." The cat's heart sank at the thought of such a large meal to prepare alone. Hesitantly, he gathered the courage to ask, "But Mum, I can't cook that much food alone. It's too much work for just one person. Could I have some help?" The dog's wife looked at him with a glacial stare and replied, her tone icy, "Do as I ask, or you can forget about your pay." Sighing deeply, and feeling the hopeless weight of his situation, the cat shuffled into the kitchen and set to work. The hours dragged by as he chopped, stirred, and cooked, his body growing tired under the strain. At one point, he accidentally burned himself on the stove flames. He gasped, clutching his paw as pain seared through him, and in that moment, he remembered the loving way his mother used to treat him, how she would cook for him, how she called him her little prince. But now, he was a mere servant, working endlessly without kindness or respite. Finally, after many grueling hours, he managed to finish the food for the 50 people. Just as he wiped the sweat from his forehead, ready to serve, the dog came strolling into the kitchen. "Stop cooking," he said abruptly. "The party has been moved elsewhere." The cat, overwhelmed by exhaustion and frustration, replied in a low voice, "But sir, I've worked hard to prepare all this food." The dog shrugged, indifferent to his plight, then put all of it into a stone sack. "I have no use for it now." The cat felt a pang of sorrow as he thought about the waste of so much food. His mother's words came to mind, "Never waste food. If you have extra, share it with those in need." Inspired by her wisdom, he carefully gathered all the food and carried it to a nearby park, where many homeless cats took refuge. When the homeless cats saw him arriving with the food, their eyes lit up with joy. They gathered around eagerly, grateful and touched by his kindness, as they began to feast. Just then, the dog's car roared up to the park. He had spotted his servant distributing the food. Furious, he honked loudly and shouted, ordering the cat to return home immediately. Back at the house, the cat was startled to see his mother waiting in the living room. Surprised and overjoyed, he rushed to her, wrapping his small arms around her in a tight hug. "Mum," he whispered, his voice trembling, "I don't want to stay here anymore. Please take me with you." The dog, who had been polite in front of his mother, asked smoothly, "Why would you want to leave such a comfortable home?" With a hint of fear in his voice, the cat explained, "Mum, this dog isn't kind to me when you're not around. He treats me like a servant. Concerned, the mother turned to the dog and asked, "Why is my son saying this?" The dog, masking his irritation, forced a smile and replied, "Oh, he's just confused. We treat him like family here." The mother frowned and requested to see where her son slept. Reluctantly, the dog led them to a cramped, dingy room at the back of the house. The sight brought tears to the mother's eyes. "This isn't what I expected when I entrusted you with my son," she said, her voice full of sorrow. Just then, the dog's wife burst into the room, oblivious to the mother's presence. "Servant, come clean my car, or you won't get food tonight," she yelled. Horrified, the cat's mother firmly declared, "Son, pack your belongings. We're leaving now." The dog tried to argue, but the mother's determination was unwavering. "You failed me," she said with disappointment. "I trusted you to care for him, but all you wanted was a servant." The cat's mother reported the situation to the authorities, who promptly took action, arresting both the dog and his wife for their mistreatment and deceit. With justice served, the cat and his mother returned home, where he was embraced with love and gratitude. Holding him close, his mother whispered, "I'm sorry for leaving you with them. I never imagined they'd treat you so cruelly. I thought you'd be safe and cared for while I was away on business." The cat, at last at peace, nestled into his mother's arms, feeling cherished and valued in a place he could finally call home.